Good morning. It being 11 o'clock, I'm going to call to order the October 30th meeting of the Michigan State Capitol Commission. I'd like to start out by asking the clerk to call the attendance.
Chair Candler,
Here.
Vice Chair Bauer,
Here.
Mr. Bullman,
Here.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Oberlin.
Here.
All 5 members are present.
Thank you. Do we have discuss dates now, or do we still need to research that?
I've sent an email out
So-
asking about the 12th and the 13th.
All right. So we're still working on a December date for me. We will not be meeting in November. We need to find a date in December that everybody can make, so we'll let everybody know that in the future. The next issue would be the approval of the September meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brown, supported by the Secretary of the Senate. Any discussion, questions, comments? Take the roll, please.
Chair Candler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Bullman,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Obviously, you do a good job in the minutes. Nobody ever has a problem with them. Okay, the next issue is a really big one and really interesting and exciting one, the Landscape Master Plan final adoption. The commissioners and staff and some of our contractors have been working for quite some time on updating the master plan for the Capitol grounds, basing it on historical perspectives, and I'm really excited, since I was around when we did an earlier plan with Dick Frank, there's quite a bit of reference to that work also. So we've got a very good historical timeline, through line of all the ground stuff, and a really nice plan and a lot of interesting considerations for aspects like viewpoints, et cetera, viewscapes, et cetera. So Rob, you want to come up and answer any questions? Or? Does anybody have any questions? Have you all read it, looked at it? Any issues with it? Everybody good? Well, maybe anything you want to say, Rob?
Well, first of all, good morning. Thanks for having me up here. Just to reiterate what Bill said, this is a 60-page document that we took the master plan that Dick Frank did back during the restoration period. And we did, with all the grounds updates that we've done with added Heritage Hall and adding the geothermal field, we thought we would update the master plan. Now, a lot of considerations were taken into effect. One of the major ones was there was always a call for an alley of trees that would go around the perimeter. We have a lot of underground infrastructure there now, whether it's conduit, fiber optics, because of all the communications and things in around the Capitol. To put an alley of trees in there now is almost impossible. Just putting one row of trees is surgery, trying to find the right spot to put in a tree without taking down half of the legislature. So we opted to really evaluate as we move forward with our landscape master plan, taking into consideration going to Michigan-born trees, and a lot of the policies that we work at operationally are now comprised with the historical data that Dick Frank put together. So that is what you will see in that package I delivered to you last month.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you, Rob. I've looked at the document. I'm very impressed with it. It's terrific. I think it provides a great historical background, which guides our vision for the future. And I think it's right on with how it's designing the landscaping, both currently and going forward. So congratulations to you and your team for putting it together. I think it's a great job.
Thank you, John.
Commissioner Brown.
Rob, you just said that, you might need to remove half the legislature. If you want to start with the Senate, I'm fine.
If I could read back my remarks, I'd like to make some modifications.
Well, unanimous vote, I think. Give us a lot more space in the building, wouldn't it? Yeah, I do. Anybody want to make a motion on this? Mr. Bowman? Any support? Commissioner? Take the roll, please.
Chair Candler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer, Mr. Bullman,
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin?
Yes.
5 yeses.
Great, we have a master plan. It's official.
Right.
Thanks. Don't go anywhere, Rob. You got a lot of business up here today.
That's right. So far, so good.
Yeah, the next section of our agenda deals with a couple of items that continue on with the issue we've been talking about for the last 6 months at least, and the last 3 years probably, is capital security. And Rob, you want to start out first with the issue of the criminal intelligence analyst position? Tell us what that's about.
Yeah. So recently, we've been meeting with Michigan State Police and their intelligence operations to really review all the security upgrades that we've made. Since they're the subject matter experts on security, we partnered with them to come in and evaluate all the upgrades that we've made to make sure we're on the right path as we build a security program here. As a result of the meetings and collaboration, we've come up with some recommendations. The first thing we did, we completed an assessment which involved cybersecurity and security as a whole, and that really helped us assess our current security posture as well as identifying options to upgrade. This is a good first step in creating an effective security program, and there's some of those things that we're going to begin to implement. I'm not willing to speak to those right now, but when that comes time, I will present some upgrade recommendations with the commission and saying, here's what I believe we want to move forward with. Also, when we discussed the number of rallies and events and things we have going on in the Capitol and grounds, Michigan State Police showed us how much research goes in behind the scenes with their intelligence folks, evaluating the number of participants. Is there any social media traffic? Do they hear, is it going to be any violence or not any violence? So they have this criminal intelligence analyst that works for them. But unfortunately, it's not a full-time position. And if this analyst also has a court case they're working on, well, they disappear for months at a time and we're really left with not a lot of intelligence. Now, a lot of that intelligence helps us make decisions on how do we, what our roster of folks are going to be that day. How do we schedule the number of people at a rallying event? How do we market it? How do we position ourselves? There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, but it was recommended that an analyst position could be created for the Capitol alone. So this person would work directly with us. They work for the Michigan State Police, but with the Capitol Commission, and they would basically review every single rallying event. They would look at all the events we have going on here. They've already come and said to us that, hey, our intelligence is already saying it's going to be a pretty chaotic 2024 election season, so be prepared with the rallies and events. They're going to be a little more dramatic than normal over the last few years. Just mentioning that, we've also known in the last 5 years how the rallies and events have become a little more chaotic or divisive. So we need to make the best decisions of when to open the building, when to close the building, how to roster the building as we partner with House sergeants, Senate sergeants, and Michigan State Police. Sometimes we even bring the surrounding communities of Lansing City Police and the other Eaton County folks that come in and support our efforts. This intelligence person, again, helps us make better decisions on how we staff our events, and they do extensive research that comprises of the history of our events and compares of what's going on now versus what has happened in the past. In the end, all the parties at the table agreed that this position has basically created itself over the last few years, and there is a much bigger need that we need that will complement our security program and planning moving forward. Fortunately, with the money that we receive from the governor to help with all of our security program, this money can be applied to that to fund this position. Again, working for the Michigan State Police, working directly with us and partnering to complement the team and support that we have going on here. Do I have any comments or questions on that?
I just want to point out one thing. I think at this point, Rob is just presenting this to us as an item of discussion. We don't plan to vote on it today. But as we go along, if you have questions between now and probably the next meeting, certainly ask Rob or myself. We don't know yet what the salary would be, things like that, because again, it's conceptual at this point, but it's kind of like a backup for all of our security people working here to have the best information as to what days are, days that they need to be prepared for some major events, and what days are not so much of a big deal. Anybody have any questions or comments? Commissioner Brown.
So, Rob, what you're envisioning would be somebody who is basically a state police employee, but then reporting directly to us? Is that how
Correct.
that would be? Okay.
Yeah,
Just wanna make sure.
they'll sit in our enforcement team meetings, they'll sit in meetings and work with our event planners and really get into the nuts and bolts of who's coming, why they're coming, and start looking at the traffic on the social media networks to see how big it's really going to be, the history of the groups that have come here, have they caused any problems anywhere else? So it really gives us great intelligence to help us make better decisions on how we plan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And you bring us the additional information and final appeal in your next meeting or whenever you're ready.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, the next item in the agenda is the gun detection software. And this is an item that I would hope that after we discuss it, we could be comfortable with voting on and approving it if we have the votes. But Rob, you want to go ahead and talk about it?
Sure. As we worked with trying to find the right solution for the weapons detection system in the building, we started looking at other things that would complement this system. And one of those was a system that could attach to our current camera system. There's a few of them out there that evaluates and can detect when a weapon is brandished. So that means when a weapon is exposed. So we looked at two different groups, one of them being Omni Alert, the other one being Zero Eyes. And again, this offers a better solution and adds to the layers to our security program. To kind of sum it up, this system is attached to our existing camera system, and as I said earlier, will detect when a weapon is brandished. The system will detect the weapon and it sends an alarm to the system. The alarm is then verified by a staff person from Zero Eyes to validate that it is a weapon and not a phone or a camera stand or what they call false positives. Once it's decided it's a positive hit, not only do they send the alarm to our software system where all of our enforcement team can detect it, but they also have a call tree that they'll start calling Michigan State Police. They'll call Senate sergeants, House sergeants, just say, hey, by the way, someone brandished a weapon on the grounds and or in the building, just so you're aware of it. And then with our floor plans are also can be attached to the software system. It'll actually pop up and show exactly where this person is. And then the software is sophisticated enough with its intelligence, they'll track this person no matter where they are on the grounds in the building until they've even been recognized, the alarm has been acknowledged, or the incident is completely over. This awareness and redundancy definitely increases our level of security support and helps decrease the risk of gun violence. And it's redundant to what we have now, but it's just an extra set of awareness that we think provides a safer environment for the folks who work here and all the school kids that come here. So it's not something that we purchase, it's a leased software, like most of them nowadays. So we have it, and if we ever decide there's a point in time that we don't need it or for other reasons, it's a matter of just terminating the service contract. But I do think it is something, and again, I've talked with Michigan State Police, and we've had the House and Senate sergeants test it with us. Everyone is supportive of this and thinks it's a really great addition to our security program here at the State Capitol Building. I'm open for questions.
One thing I'd like to add to it too, Rob, is that this is not any addition of observation equipment. We already have cameras. They're already here. This rides on the back of our existing cameras, so it's like another set of eyes watching what our camera sees. So everything that the Zero Eyes product would pick up as far as finding a weapon on somebody, we're already looking at that. We already see that. We just don't have something telling us that. So it's basically just an alarm. But we're not adding any extra surveillance. There's no more cameras. We're putting it on the back of our existing camera system.
That's correct.
Any questions, comments, thoughts? Robbie, anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
What's the range of this? I mean, just in the Capitol Square or?
Any camera that we have in the building, including Capitol Square, is our range.
Okay, so
We
just
do have a
provide-
couple cameras that we have in position that can look at the front of the Anderson House office building, the Bensfeld office building. We have cameras on top of Treasury that looks down onto the Capitol lawn, but it's primarily our cameras, not DTMBs or the House or Senate cameras. It's the Capitol Commission camera system.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I would so move.
Commissioner Brown moves in support. Take the roll, please.
Chair Candler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Motion passes. Thank you. Oh, and now we're on to the report of the executive director. It seems like the whole meeting is a report of the executive director. Rob, take it away.
Not that the two previous conversations weren't fun, but let's get to the stuff that I consider a lot more fun. So first of all, I put a packet of pictures that you have in front of you today, and this was the latest report from our Rotunda Restoration Project, and it kind of gives you illustrations of all the things that are going on there right now. And I'll just highlight a couple of those pictures and some of the narrative that goes along with it. Some of the pictures you'll see in your packet really represent paint matching in key areas. You'll see color palettes and material boards laying there in certain areas that shows the different colors, how they mix it, and how they prepare to fix these areas that are in need of repair. There's decorative painting sample boards that show color matching and stencil details. In the pictures, you'll find repairs to metal on paint levels 6 and 7. Some of them required Bondo, some of them did not, but lots of sanding. There's pilaster stencils and oval stencil boards that illustrate what will be done in those areas that need restoration. In Figure 12, which is near the end, you'll see a yellow trim band that had sizing and a type of adhesive on the surface. This was up at level 6 and 7. It seems that this band was to be gold leafed back in the day during the restoration, but was missed. So the sizing or the adhesion on there, then you take the gold leaf, flick it on there, which I'm probably using the wrong term, so like Joshua and Barbara cringing right now, but bear with me. These are areas that should have received gold leaf. As a team, we decided to honor the condition, and we're going to apply the gold leaf to this band that they missed 30 years ago. So I really look forward to showing you the pictures once that's complete. I'll bring the picture back of what it looks like now versus what it will look like when it's completed, and you will really see it'll really enhance. It'll look like a clean surface. It'll really just pop with the lighting that's all up in there. Also, near the end of the picture packet, you'll see some surfaces with a tremendous amount of soiling. This is from bad filtration. This is from air that gets into the dome area over the years that we are unable to reach and clean. But I show those pictures now on purpose because when I show those pictures again, there'll be a cleaner surface. And these may or may not even need to be painted, but it will be a night and day difference. So again, I'm trying to show you everything that's going on there now that we're seeing. And when we're done, we'll show what it is supposed to look like or what it looks like after our project. So we're all pretty proud of it. The progress is going really well. And as we always like to say in the project management business, we are under budget and on schedule. So to continue on my agenda here, over last week, sorry.
Rob, sorry, one other question. Estimating based upon what you had to do for this thing, how many flicks does it take to put all the gold leaf in the whole building?
I'll have to do my research on that. I do not know, but I know it's more than the Tootsie Pop drop that we all referenced in our past. Last week, we finally had the opportunity to install the rest of the exterior pediment lighting. As of Friday evening, and if you have an opportunity to come by in the morning or evening when it's dark out, you can see that now the lighting is all in a position that glows the pediments surrounding the building. These architectural features are always nice to see in the day, but at night they're really enhanced. As a matter of fact, when I turn on the morning news, one of the only reasons is to see if there's any lights out and to see how beautiful those pediments look. So I compliment the teams that have worked really hard on putting that together. This was something that was long in the making, and we finally had an opportunity to complete. Heritage Hall vestibule modifications. We had, after the north vestibule HVAC didn't really work as it was engineered, and there were cold when it's super cold in the winter, the vestibule is very cold, and also it's warm, it can't get cooled as quickly as some of the other areas. Since we've added security in there and we know there's going to be people working in that space all the time, we decided to upgrade that area to accommodate so they're not working in cold conditions or overly warm conditions. So this week, there's sections of the North Heritage Hall that will be shut down. There's still opportunities for security and entrance and egress, But there will be, this week through, I would say the next 2.5 weeks, there'll be people in there modifying the ceiling HVAC to help keep it cooler, to help keep it warmer during the period of time. I wanted to bring that to your attention, so if anyone calls you saying, hey, what's going on at the north entrance of Heritage Hall? Or you walk over there and see a difference in the ceiling, you're now aware of what's really kind of going on here. The last thing I'd like to talk about is really silver bells in the city, but to first start about over the weekend, the Christmas tree was installed in its hole. It's a 60-foot spruce from Onaway. It was harvested last week and brought down this week. It is in the ground right now, so this week you'll see the Department of Forestry put in branches where they broke off and really help the shape of the tree before we light it. And speaking of lighting, the Board of Water and Light will be in midweek to the end of the week to start stringing the lights as we prepare for Silver Bells event. Again, Silver Bells event is on Friday, November 17th. And we'll have the building kind of shut down between noon and 1 as we traditionally do. Fortunately or unfortunately, we no longer have the building open because of security reasons. And as you remember in the past, the tour groups that came through were starting to become minimal. We had more people wanting to use the bathroom. And as we like to say, we are the fanciest rest area in the state of Michigan on the night of Silver Bells. So we got rid of that so it's safer in the building. We do know that folks who work in the building are allowed to come in the building, and if they do have parties, they do report it to us. We kind of use that as a flight manifest, so we know the number of people that are in the building, and it's reported to the state police so we can help monitor and get people in and out of the building. I have no other questions with that, unless you have questions from me.
Any questions about silver bells or anything? Jeff, Dan, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question for you, Rob, just a comment. You know, I've been asked to convey a message from Senator Moss, my president pro tempore. You know, he and the mayor, Mayor Shore, are working on a menorah that could possibly go along our holiday tree, Christmas tree. I've heard it called both. I know there's a history of this with this commission. Mr. Chair, thank you for your indulgence. You know, there's a lot of new commissioners here. I was hoping at some point in the next couple months, maybe we could have a discussion about why the rules are the way they are, what the legal ramifications of doing this would be. It's just something that would be of interest to me to have that discussion about why the rules are the way they are. As an old policy person, I know when someone messes with your MCL, you have to explain, no, there's a reason it is the way it is. But as the new guy here, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, well, we could change that. So I thank you, sir.
No problem. And actually, you know, there's no issue with menorah. The menorah they're proposing just doesn't fit in with the policy, but absolutely. I think it'd be a good idea. It's been like 4 years since we last reviewed the policy. So going forward, we'd be happy to do that. I think most commissioners are always have been welcoming to that. So yes, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
You want to introduce the group for your
Yeah,
next presentation?
absolutely. I look forward to the next part of this. As the commission, you're very well aware of all the things that we do here, but it's still, one of the questions I get, and it's the hardest answer, is what do you guys do at the Capitol? I always say, how much time do you have? Because it's so simple on the surface for us, but we do so many things. And quite frankly, I'm going to boast my team here, we do so many things very well that I think is worthy of sharing. So over the next year, I'm going to start bringing some of the groups and the different things that we're doing to share with you as the commission and the audience. And it's my pleasure to introduce the first group here with Barb Thamudo. And Barb and Val are fresh off speaking at a conference of Michigan Museums about Heritage Hall, and really got a chance to illustrate their work in partnership with Quinn Evans Architects. But there's so many stories to be told here. We say it to ourselves all the time, whether it's Civil War battle flags, whether it's the portraits, whether it's the grounds, whether it's a restoration project, whether it's the policy on ornaments and things outside. There's just so many great stories to tell. I won't go any further. I'm going to have Barb come up and bring her team with her, and they're going to put on a nice presentation for you all. I'm going to excuse myself.
All right, Barb.
There, I'm gonna start by passing our ornament down. As the actual, all the cases we'll go over today, this is
gorgeous ornament.
It's become an attachment to the minutes.
So I'm very excited to not only show the ornament to you for this year, but, and we're going to have the shipment today, so they will all be in place. I hope that you all are impressed with it. After I did the 3D ornament from 2 years ago, the chandelier, I wasn't sure that I could top it, but now I'm back in that boat where I don't know if I can top this one, so. Anyway, aside from being excited about the ornament, I just also wanted to talk about what else has developed for us in way of art at the Capitol. And I can't say that I've been able to be this excited about work. Heritage Hall was exciting, but it was very taxing. And once that added that extra layer of duties for scheduling for events, I really had no free time at all, and I was begging Rob for some relief. And so he listened to me, and I was able to bring on Josie Kennedy, which is back here. Josie came on in the spring, and she's been amazing with taking over events, and I'm really just overseeing it at this point. She's doing so well, so I just wanted you all to have her face in your mind, so you know who's also working on events at the Capitol. And then also helping us with the tech aspect that really came with Heritage Hall is Lucas Ketchum, and most of you are familiar with Lucas. But he's been instrumental too with everything that's been changing with security and the technology. So what that means is I've had a little time to do things that I really enjoy and get excited about, and that is art and history. When I came to the Capitol 20 years ago, I didn't come because of politics or politicians or legislative process. I came here because I love architecture and I love history and art, and this building has always inspired me. When Josh started 8 years ago, we always talked about having an art department, if you will, and we've managed the art, we've managed the design, the branding, the signage, all of that in the Capitol over the years, but it wasn't until actually Shayla came on staff with the education department with her master's degree in art history, and then with the combination of Anthony, we've created this 4-person art team, and it's been incredible. Josh and Anthony don't need any introduction, that you all know them very well, but we just wanted to figure out a way to really showcase the other things in the building that people come to, because I've been to a lot of state capitals, and we are unique in the fact that we have not just a beautiful building with that 9 acres of decorative paint, but we have an amazing art collection. I just came from 2 capitals in the last couple months, Washington and Idaho, not a single bit of art on their walls. And so with that, I'm going to let Josh talk about our next steps and what we've done.
Going kind of fast there for me. So most of you maybe know that I paint some of the paintings that are on the walls, and probably know me that way. But when I came here, I think it's close to 8 years ago, Barb and I had many conversations about how I thought the collection should be considered from an art historical perspective. And up until that point, we had only seen it from a political history perspective, as though like the individuals, we needed to know who they were and what they've done. But with my background, primarily being in art history and art theory, even though I painted, I thought that the significance of the collection could be more national and even global if considered from an art historical perspective. And Barb and I talked about that many times, and through all the years of all the different projects and different things, it just kind of stayed there. I would rant about it every now and then, and she would encourage me to do something. And you know, I would get portrait commissions, and it just got delayed and stuff like that.
And I would book events.
And she would book events. So That being said, I'm going to play let's see if I can explain that. So one of the things that we've done as an outlet for this is to create a website so that we can start promoting the art from an art historical perspective. And I can explain that maybe if there's questions later about what that means. But it basically takes all of the angles that, all of the perspectives that went into making an individual piece of art and tries to understand it from all those perspectives rather from one. And that's what we're trying to do now. And we created this website in order to demonstrate that. The first thing I want to show you is this video that we put together that communicates kind of a more art historical perspective of the collection.
I think the Capitol's collection has an advantage in its size in some way. Large museums have a lot to show, but it can be overwhelming and it can speak a lot of different voices to the point where we have no idea what you're trying to communicate. But at the Capitol, the way the collection is organized and the way that it is presented and the scale, it seems digestible and clear. And people can approach it in a way that it's almost like a member of their family or somebody they know.
When I look at the portrait collection, I see the evolution of trends, of styles, of fashion. It transcends place, it transcends time.
In some sense, I can see all of culture shifting just by looking around the rotunda. And it's very rare to be able to see the values and the ideals of a culture shift from one generation to the next.
It's more, I think, this unconscious ethos that I'd like to think society carries with it. The portrait collection here, you have a portrait painted every 4 or 6 years. So you really have kind of the history of American portraiture.
The portraits in this collection sometimes surprise people because we see stories in them we don't expect. We all have a narrative in our head that we are taught that government looks a certain way and consists of certain people. And when you see a portrait of a person who doesn't fit that image, that kind of shocks you. It makes you stop and look and read the nameplate and say, who was this person?
Paintings can't lie. Paintings cannot lie. It doesn't matter how hard you try. And that's what I love about paintings. That's why this collection is significant, because you can see the truth. It doesn't matter what we tell you about it. It doesn't matter what governor it is. It says everything that it needs to say right there, and nobody was going to ever be able to disguise that.
You know, if you go into art history and you go into 16th and 15th century portraits of people who we don't know, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, they're considered invaluable as archival representations of these people. So it's invaluable to those remaining people that are interested in history and culture.
This is more significant on a grander scale than it first meets the eye.
So hopefully that communicated more eloquently than I did in this moment. But that being said, there's a lot going on here, I'm sorry. One of the reasons we made that video is because I had originally contacted the Smithsonian, the curator of the American Portrait Collection, the head curator, and wanted to get her comment on our collection as a way to sort of start promoting our collection as more nationally significant. And then that fed into like, well, we need something to be able to show these people that we're trying to build, and we don't really have an image base that's digital, that's accessible, something that people can look at, and also then we can add the information that we continue to add over time. And the website is that. So what we've done is I've added all the images to this website now. They've all been like enhanced and altered so that you get a very good understanding of the way they were supposed to be seen. Often some of the paintings in the building, we can't see as well, but now with this opportunity, you're able to see them. Some of them, we will be building these out as we go, but you can get more information and then even see like close-ups of the images. And hopefully we will be adding to that. And then one of the other things that we've done is we've started to build on this idea of how we would like to approach the portrait collection. And Shayla has been significant in this role. Like, she has wrote most of the information about each governor. And what we've done, how the content is handled, is that we're basically trying to show the audience that you can observe this information yourself. One of the things that I thought was significant is as we bring in many students at a young age, we often tell them right away what to think. And that's fine, some of that's really good, but I think that there's a real advantage in art that you can teach somebody to be observant. And many times when I encourage people to be observant, they will actually find the information themselves that we could tell them. And I think that's a really powerful thing, that you can sort of draw conclusions from observing yourself. And so this information is delivered with that in mind, of how to encourage somebody to observe, how to look, how to treat them with more reverence than maybe what we were doing before. Not that we were doing it bad before, but just adding. Go ahead.
I was just going to add too, aside from, and this is just the start of our website, so we are going to build out further, and there's all kinds of avenues for further research, and we do have a couple research projects going on currently that, again, I'm very excited about. And it just is also not only building partnerships with the Smithsonian, but also with local art institutions in Detroit. And so I think that's a very good thing for the collection here and just for our network.
So all of the paintings are on here now, so there's access to all of them. And we are also, they are all like, we're adding behind the scenes information so that when somebody goes in Google and types in a particular governor or Michigan art or anything, now this website will be like a draw, so that all of the research and information that we are adding to this will now be like part of a grander scheme in that way too. One of the outlets that Barb was saying is that there's a layer, we're gonna have an area here where all the research that we do will be added and then SEO'd and sort of archived, but also accessible. And this particular one, Anthony wrote an article about varnish, about the history of varnish, and we're currently in the process of doing some experimentation, not on the paintings, but with varnishes themselves. And I guess hopefully this will transition here, but the significance of this to me is that we're in a time now where we have lots of contractors, conservators, decorative painters come in, and what I think sometimes is missing is that we need to make sure that they know maybe I shouldn't say it's missing. What I want is for them to recognize our expertise, so that there's an accountability always. And it's not as though they're not doing it, but that this sort of approach allows us to keep all of these contractors, conservators, different people coming in accountable, because we show ourselves as experts. And I feel like that's one of the most significant aspects of this website. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I apologize for the...
No, I think that was it. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
I had just two, at least one. What you said you're working on 2 research projects right now. Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah. Earlier in the year, I stumbled across the Smithsonian website where they had a collection that was donated from the Burton collection in the library in Detroit of about 250 glass negatives. Now, when Josh started, we already knew this, that our Ives father and son team, Percy and Louis T. Ives, were our portrait painters that we have the largest collection of here in the Capitol building. When Josh came on board, he agreed that they were some of the finest portraits we had in the Capitol. They have a collection of their personal items. This is going back from the 1880s to the 1930s at the Burton, and they shared the glass negatives that were in Percy Ives' original collection and sent it to the Smithsonian. So the Smithsonian has them digitized. They're on the website. You can look at them. However, the 250 photos are not identified. I've been doing Ives research. I've pulled probably close to 1,000 articles at this point, and I've been able to, I think, virtually identify every one of them. And so we're going to be able to identify these images for the Smithsonian.
Oh, that's pretty
I'd
impressive.
like to add real quick, if there's a little bit of time to that. So when I first got to look at an Ives painting up close, I noticed right away that there were some drawing lines. Can't see it. So you could see where the artist had drawn a particular style of like an underdrawing that he was going to paint on top of. And it stood out to me because it's a type of drawing, one that he used a pencil, which is unusual, and then the way he drew it was called it's called tonal mapping. So it's a little bit different, and it stood out to me, and I can explain that obviously in some other setting, but it really is a different approach for a 19th century academic painter, because typically they would be standing in front of a model and you don't see the way that he drew. So I had talked about that for years and years and years, and didn't do much about it, just kept talking about it, and had written some stuff. And then recently, in Barb's research with Ives, I had mentioned that she should look and try to figure out if Louis Ives used photographs to do his paintings. Well, what do you know? She found an article that showed that he did paintings for a New York couple or something like that where he never saw the sitters. That's significant because he was painting, in 1850. He was born in like 1817. The camera was like, or somewhere in there, I'm giving rough numbers. Camera was invented in like 1816. So he had, at a very early stage, started adapting the technology to enhance his painting. And that we have that here in our collection, and we've found that through our research and stuff like that. And I think that makes it significant. It makes the artist more nationally significant. It makes our collection more significant and special.
The only other question I had is, how many images do you have? You said you have all the images, all of, how many?
All of our portraits,
You
58.
know how many?
56.
56.
wow, great.
There's 50.
Anybody else have a question? John?
I don't have a question, but just a comment. This is fantastic. We have a building here that serves an essential purpose in the state, but we also have this amazing museum. And so for your team to not only preserve this museum, but enhance it with this documentation is just a wonderful addition to what you're doing. So thank you.
Just want to add on to that. You made the comment about being in other state capitals. I've been in other state capitals too, and sometimes it's absolutely jarring, the lack of any kind of art or anything on the walls, and then you come into this building and it takes your breath away. So you're absolutely on spot on that. This place is something very, very special.
Anything else you want to present?
That was-
Thank you very much. It's very impressive. I'm so impressed with your outreach to present our collection and yourselves as experts in art and art history. That's really quite an asset to the state of Michigan, to this building. So we really appreciate the work you guys do and the prestige you bring to the building.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other business from anybody? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, I got public comment. I'm sorry. I did it at the last meeting, too. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak? Nobody? Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Brown moves. Support. Mr. Oberlin supports. Anybody opposed? Unanimous roll that's in support of the motion. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.